Let's get some prize picks in today, guys. Last night was definitely an unfortunate one on the bad beats and on the YouTube picks. This is the first bad beat right here, missing just one tennis play to cash out 25x here. Another one right down here with Josh Hart, needed him to stay under. It was going to be a 10x. And then another one right here. Kevin Durant, man, we really needed Booker in this game last night. I played this before Booker was out, so he hooked right at that one more bucket. He got it in the last 3 minutes. If Booker was in, he was definitely staying under 29.5 points. He popped off in like the first quarter and then was kind of slowing down throughout the game. This would have been another nice 25xer. As for the picks from the actual video, they went terrible. I'm not going to lie to you here. The only pick that hit was Jalen Duren. The NHL picks were complete chalk. And then Rudy Gobert. Him too, he played so many minutes for some reason. The Timberwolves were up so much, like 20, 30 points. And he was like the only one that was staying on. Him and Anthony Edwards for the whole game for whatever reason. He ended up cashing this in the fourth quarter for no reason. Then Cade could not get the assist here. So 1 in 5 day. But we'll get onto the board for today. The last 2 days before last night were very good. So we'll see if we could bounce back from that terrible night last night. The first pick I'm going to go with is going to be in the Wizards. Actually, the first and second pick. The first one is going to be on Denny on his over 12.5 points. You can see I also have a replacement for this pick if you don't like it on Tyus Jones. But we're going to match him up with basically Jordan Poole on his under 14.5 points. The idea is here, if Denny's going over his points, it's less likely for Jordan Poole to go over his points too, so we grab his under. But also, we're looking at Jordan Poole here. 13.5 looks great throughout the season, right? Averaging 15.9 over the season, 58% hit rate. But guess what, guys? We're not getting him at 13.5. FanDuel's the only one that has him at 13.5. PointsBet, MGM, Caesars, and DraftKings, all of them at 14.5 with heavy juice towards that under 14.5. You can see the difference for Poole between 13.5 and 14.5. See, 58%, 28 out of 48. You bump that up by 1 point, and he only has a 48% hit rate. Only hit this 23 times out of 48. Basically, an extra 5 games where he's not clearing this line because you're getting at 14.5 rather than 13.5. Now, tonight is actually a very tough matchup versus the Boston Celtics. It's a minus 17.5 spread. We'll get into that in a little bit. But this is looking great for us. If we go ahead and throw in the full team here, Tyus Jones, Kuzma, and Denny, you can see he still has that 49% hit rate. 23 out of 47 games. He has been in form in his last 15, his last 5, his last 10, averaging about 14.3, 12.8, and 13.1, clearing each of these lines at a 60% hit rate. But versus the Celtics, I just don't think he has that pull tonight. Last game versus Cleveland, he actually got 0 points here, as you can see in this bar here. And versus the Celtics, he has only played them once, only got 11 points. For Denny, we kind of have the opposite here. You know, we said that there is juice towards the under on Poole. Over here, there is juice towards the over at 12.5 points, all the way up to minus 131 on Caesars. So I have one guy juiced towards the under, one guy juiced towards the over, and we're kind of inversing them here. So Denny on the over 12.5 points, decent hit rates and averages right around where that points prop is. So 12.6 average on that 12.5 points prop. 26 out of 50 times he has cleared this. Again, same exact matchup versus Boston. Last time they played, he got 11 points, but he cleared the line at the time it was set at 10.5. Aside if you're not liking Denny, you could replace him with Tyus Jones on the over 11.5 points. Also has juice towards the over, but what I'm liking more about Denny over Tyus Jones is that if this game is a blowout, right? We have Boston Celtics at home, 236 total. It's a pretty decent one, and a minus 17.5 spread. I think that Denny would fare better in an environment where there's a blowout and they're not getting a lot of minutes, because Denny's first half point average is about 7.4, which is pretty high, right? He's clearing the 6.5 line, if that's what it said out on Prizepicks. I'm not exactly sure, but he's getting more points in the first half compared to the other two players. So he's averaging more points in that first half than in the second half, of course, because a lot of these second halves for the Wizards are blowouts, but he has like a substantial boost from 7.4 to 5.2. So all he really needs is a good game. I mean, some of these games he's actually like clearing his 12.5 points prop in that first half. So I'm liking the fact that he's going to get a nice 7-8 points. Then we only really need another 5 points in that second half. As for Tyus Jones, a bit more inconsistent. I mean, then he's really getting those at least like 6 points. You know, he has these two outlier games where he 6, 7, 8 points in these first halves. While Tyus Jones a bit more inconsistent, 1, 3, 0, 4, 2 points compared to the games where he's getting like 7, 9, 8, 9. So I'm looking for a little bit more consistency when it comes to that. But the one thing that does go in Tyus Jones' favor here is Boston Celtics defense against the point guard position. So actually near the bottom of the league in points allowed towards the point guard position. So that's why I said you could go with Tyus Jones, because if you check the shooting guard position, they are a bit better right here. You know, like they're one of the best teams in the league versus shooting guards and also versus the small forward. So that is why I said, you know, Tyus Jones is an option. I personally went with Denny and Jordan Poole in my entry. So that's why I'm going with this again in the video. And the next one I'm going to is the 76ers, the Embiid list 76ers. We're grabbing Kelly Oubre Jr. on the under 18 points, and we're also taking Tyrese Maxey on the over 28.5 points. This is a pair that you could inverse if you're feeling Oubre over Maxey, but you must take them in the opposite direction. I'll show you guys why. So Kelly Oubre, this is the games with Maxey, without Embiid. This is also for Tyrese Maxey, the games with Oubre, without Joel Embiid. And you can notice right away, these graphs are pretty much the opposite, right? So when one guy's going over the prop, Kelly Oubre going over in Miami, dropping 25 points. Tyrese Maxey only drops 12. If you go check this game in Houston where Maxey got 42 points, you're going to see Kelly Oubre only 13 points. The idea here is when one's going over, the other one is going under. You can also see it in this Jazz game. Kelly Oubre dropped 24 points and then Maxey stayed under his line over at 25. And then again, Hawks and Jazz here again. Then when Maxey went over in the Hawks and Jazz game here, Kelly Oubre also went under in the Hawks and Jazz game. So that's kind of the relationship going with here. Do I know which one's going to go over, which one's going to go under tonight? No, but I'm leaning towards Kelly Oubre going under. You can see a couple sportsbooks have him set at 17.5. Some have him set at 18.5. We get him at 18 exactly. So I think it's a decent spot. At least we get some push potential if he gets exactly 18. Now for Tyrese Maxey, the juice is a bit conflicted. We have some juice towards the under, some juice towards that over on the 27.5. We're getting him at 28.5 tonight, but I did check on Pinnacle. There's like a slight juice towards his over. So that's why I'm going with Tyrese Maxey on the over and Oubre on the under rather than the other way around. Tonight it is a good high-paced matchup here. 246 total with the 76ers at home. Minus 2.5 spread to the Atlanta Hawks. Should be a good game going down to the wire. And one of these guys is definitely going to cash their overs. I'm just hoping it's Maxey tonight. And like I said, if Maxey's going over, less likely that Kelly Oubre is also going over. That is going to be the 3rd and 4th picks. Now for the 5th and 6th picks, we're going over to Houston and we're grabbing Sengun on his over 24.5 points. It's another one that you might want to reverse based on the data I'm about to show you, but I'm liking Sengun's over in this case, as well as Brooks under. So Dillon Brooks on the under 13.5 points. Take a look at Sengun. These are the games without Fred VanVleet is out. Confirmed. You can see right away the sportsbooks have him set at 24.5, but not much juice towards the over, and then the rest have him at 25.5 with heavy juice towards the under. So I'm liking the 24.5 spot mainly because the sportsbook have him a bump higher. But also VanVleet here, you could see the average games. Two pretty tough matchups here with Denver and Boston. So 22 points, 24 and 20. Decent average there. Didn't quite clear this 24.5, but much easier matchup tonight versus Toronto compared to like Boston and Denver. So he hasn't cleared this in the 3 games without VanVleet, but I do think we could have a turnaround tonight. Let's take a look at Dillon Brooks, and it's kind of the opposite here. See, he actually did clear 25 points versus Boston, 23 points versus Indiana. And then in the Denver game, they both went under. So what I'm kind of looking for is a reversal here, where Dillon Brooks is the one actually going under and Sengun the one going over. And the reason I'm taking the unders here, you can see again, heavy juice towards the under at 13.5, at least on Caesars, all the way up at minus 131, while all the other sportsbooks kind of have him flat. And then BetMGM actually has him at 12.5. So basically, juice on the over on Sengun, juice on the under on Dillon Brooks. That's why we're grabbing them in the opposite direction. So I'm following the juice here, but I guess if you want to check the stats in the past 3 games, I don't think it's a big enough sample size. You could kind of reverse these guys if that's what you want to do. You guys always have the last decision on what type of picks you want to take. I'm kind of looking for that reversal. That time that Bam and Butler were kind of going head to head all the time. Butler was clearing his over while Bam was going under. Then in that game versus San Antonio, I said I kind of expect a reversal in the points for Bam on the over and Butler on the under. That's exactly what happened. So that's what I'm going again here for tonight. So this is the slip. Denny over points could replace with Tyus Jones over points if you're feeling that. Jordan Poole under points, Oubre under points, Maxey over points, Sengun over points, and Dillon Brooks under points.